Hi, hi, hi. So we have the second episode of season 1 of Sister Wives to talk about today. And it is the one where we actually get to meet Robin. And for some reason, it makes me even angrier at Cody. But if you're new here, my name is Cozy. I like to snark about Sister Wives here on YouTube. I do like to remind you this video is for entertainment purposes only. These are not facts, they're just my opinions about public figures sharing their lives publicly. Please do not take my opinions as facts. Cool? Cool. All right. So, before we get too far into this, Graham did have his shots today. So he is a little bit grumpy, he's a little bit tired, and a little sore. So if you hear some whimpering, he's in his crate. I can see him, he'll be okay. But just know that's why he's upset. Uh, and then also, been working on this temperature blanket trying to catch back up because, guys, we had 2 random days of 50-degree temperatures. So I got to add green to my blanket other than just this sage green. I know I've been gone over the colors before. Navy is the 30s, sage is the 40s, this sapphire color is the 20s, the aqua's the teens, and now this fancy green here is the 50s, because that's when things start getting green. So I'm super excited, but I know you guys didn't come here just to hear me ramble about temperature blankets or to hear me talk about my dog and his boo-boos. So instead, we'll get started with this episode. Now, as we're going through, episodes 2, 3, I think most of the first season ends up only being about a half hour long. So they're not super duper long episodes, which is great. But we open up to the wives, and point of clarification, in these early episodes before Robin marries and the wives refers simply to Mary, Janelle, and Christine. Anytime that Robin is involved, I will make sure to use her name. But they are supposed to be looking for onesies because Truly apparently doesn't have any. But it seems like they're looking for everything but. But I mean, come on, those are some cute tiny dresses. Like, who doesn't want to look at cute tiny dresses? I was so excited when I found out I was having girls because, frankly, I love my son. But there's not as much cute clothing for boys, and I was excited to get to see some cute clothing. So Cody's explaining that they have been together for 16 years, and this time is significantly different. I'm assuming he's been courting Robin. So there's a candle in the way in this scene of his hand, and I can't tell whether or not he's wearing his ring in this couch interview. I'll keep my eye open, though. So Mary shares that the first 5 to 7 years were definitely a learning curve, and they all had to learn how to deal with each other. And Christine's like, "Why'd you look at me when you said that?" Playing with Mary. And Mary plays back and jabs right back at her. "Well, maybe because I had to learn how to deal with you." Which is kind of fun, but we do know that there definitely was a learning curve because we've heard Janelle say that at the beginning she thought Christine was a princess. And we've also heard Cody refer to her in that sort of negative light. And Mary even said that the relationship she was most concerned about was Christine's because she perceived that to be so much more romantic than Janelle's. And I think felt a little bit like there was a rivalry there. And I really forgot how often here in the beginning they would tell us how long Cody's been married to each wife, whose kids are whose, how many kids each have. Ooh, I know this was before we met the Browns, but for pity's sake, I'm kind of over it. I feel like there should be like a skip feature now that it's in streaming. Anyway, Janelle and Mary are showing Christine these cute little ballet flats, and Janelle kind of laughs and is like, "What if after all of this, the baby turns out to be a boy?" And Christine just kind of looks shocked, and she's like, "No." But we get a little cut to Christine explaining that she's going to be having Truly, and then uses that to segue into how Cody is courting Robin, speaking of new things. And so she does take the time to explain what that means in their vernacular. And what that means is that the families are getting to know each other, and there's a potential for a new sister wife coming in. So back on the couch, Christine continues to share that Mary is always open to Cody having another wife, and Christine is not. She's like, "He's not spending enough time with me. How is he going to get another wife?" And so we know that time has been a factor for quite a while. Cody's kind of used that and thrown that around at Christine as an accusation. I don't know if this is where it started, but at minimum, Christine's telling us, "Hey, you don't spend that much time here, and I don't really want you to spread yourself any thinner than you already are." So we also get Mary sharing her version of the how Cody and Robin met story. And I think I've been upfront saying that I don't believe the narrative that they give us. So I really watched Mary and Cody's faces here separately. Like I wasn't trying to watch them together. And I even watched it a couple times to make sure I caught their expressions. Um, so I don't think that the official narrative of we just ran into her at her cousin's house is necessarily the case. I don't know that I don't know that I'm a true believer in the idea that Robin really, kind of stalked the family to join the family because they were getting a TV show. I don't know if I fall for that one, but if that's the case, then maybe the cousin had a hand in it. They could have very easily met at anything dealing with Christine's family where the Jessups would have been involved. I don't know. I genuinely don't know, but something feels off. At any rate, I think that Mary does 100% believe that she was the reason that Cody and Robin got together. Um, and as she's talking, Cody is staring very intently at her and like listening to her every word. He does not move a muscle in his face. There's no indication that what she's saying isn't correct, isn't true. So it's really hard to say 100% here. But Mary is like, yeah, Robin and I just clicked. And I told Cody that he should ask her to dance. And she did, and he did. And that's all she wrote. So we see some glimpses of Robin and her kids while they're talking. And honestly, I don't know why she ever stopped doing those soft curls. They framed her face so much better than these like super harsh curls she's doing now. And they just gave her a very youthful appearance. But Cody tells us Robin's 30 and she grew up in the lifestyle, which is a bit of a stretch, but okay. Robin herself tells us that she is a single divorced mother of 3 and that the last few years she's been working really hard to give her kids a very safe environment, which is great as long as the environment's not so safe that people are missing out on, life, anything, life experiences. And she's like, I've been working to support them. That is the last time we're going to hear that. But she is so unbelievably different than she is 14 years later. Like, she's got this spark and this vigor in her where she just feels very alive, which is not something that I necessarily think we have seen or felt for the last several years, because she's just had that near constant frown. She just doesn't have, she's a lot more pale now. She doesn't have that spark that she had back then. So we cut to Cody, who is packing for his weekend getaway to Robin's. And I'm not gonna lie, it really bothers me that he's got Savannah and Gabe here helping him pack. And so he says to Savannah, are you going to help me pack or are you just going to be a princess? And we know that he views that in such a negative connotation that it genuinely bugs me that he keeps saying that to people. And so when he's like, yeah, help me pack. And it's like, no, maybe they shouldn't help you pack to go see the other woman in your life. I understand y'all don't necessarily look at her like a mistress, but it just still feels kind of weird. And it also is super weird because where are you staying? I remember saying this back when this episode aired. I said to my mom, where's he staying then? If it's not proper for them to, have a girlfriend or a fiance, he shouldn't be staying in her house. And we know that actually did come up later when Robin says it would be improper for her to live in the Lehigh house with Janelle. So he hands Savannah these sandals. And these sandals give me the ick. I don't know if it's because they look like they're made out of the like faux leather material that would just like hold sweat and stink. Anybody remember those plastic jelly shoes from the 90s? If you were a millennial or Gen X, I know you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes they lit up and they always made everything smell like Fritos and feet. Like, ooh. Just thinking back on them, those things, ooh, and they blisters. Oh gosh. Anyway, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google jelly shoes 1990. Ooh, they're awful. Actually, Zoomers, you should know what I'm talking about because I feel like they brought those back. At any rate, he tells us about how like they've done this before, but nothing's really ever clicked, and Robin is special, and it feels like it clicks. And so he's like, she's special. And he's got this big smile on his face, like this big dopey grin. And you can tell that he's deep in it at this point. So he goes to say goodbye to everybody. And Mary is obviously very upset that he's going to be gone. And Cody just chalks their sadness up. Oh, well, it's that I'm going to be away as much as I'm seeing someone else. Yeah, duh. Duh. They don't want you to go. And Christine on the couch is about to echo that sentiment because she is near tears. sharing that Robin is 5 hours away, and how a few times she'd be like, "You can't go. You can't leave me." And we know that Christine had that miscarriage, and I'm sure that that was part of it. You can't leave me. Not when I'm pregnant with this baby, not when I'm scared. I went through a traumatic pregnancy, and there were times where my husband only worked a short way down the road at that time. He works much further now, but I would feel like, you can't leave me. What if something happens? What if I lose one of these babies? Because things were just, they weren't good. They were not good. And so I know that feeling of upset and terror, but also, you can't leave me. You can't go 4 hours away. But the next thing she says is so very important, and I'm not even going to joke with you when I got chills when this happened, because it was a moment of true emotion from her back then. And we have heard these words used against her time and time again, because Christine says, "You can't leave your family." And I am not joking. I'm getting chills now. When I heard Cody's voice say to Isabel in my head, "I can't leave my family," when he refused to go to her surgery. And we know Christine said that Isabel said to her, "I thought I was his family." Took a long time for those words to come home to roost, but roost they did, right? So she goes on to say, "You're replacing your family with Robin and her kids." Once again, some horrible foreshadowing. Because that's obviously kind of how it is now. Like, let's be serious. It's just kind of how it is, having sat through all of these years of multiple seasons of Cody isolating further and further and further from his wives and his kids, under the guise of COVID, under the guise of "she gave me an office," under the guise of anything. And Christine finishes up saying that she realized it needed to happen, but that didn't necessarily make it any easier. It didn't need to happen. It just, it did. You let it happen. So Cody is like, initially everybody struggles when we've done this before, and they struggle because they're afraid. I don't think that's it. I think they struggle because they're unhappy and they're angry. But if you pause here, when he says goodbye to Isabel, the ring is very visible on his finger. Just saying. And Janelle shares that right now things are unbalanced, but that's because of the travel. Once he's done traveling to see Robin, things will be better. And this is when Christine, in the look back, was like, "Yeah, I thought things would get better. I thought that once they were married and, yes, she's the shiny new toy. You're going to spend some time with her for a while, but then you're going to go back. You're going to go back to the schedule. You're going to go back to doing and sharing time, and it's going to be fine." That's not what happened, though. But Janelle here says some very pointed things, and she says that Cody has always been very careful with his time and very careful to make sure their needs are met. And the way she looks at him in this, it's almost like she's daring him. "Do you hear me? You have always been very careful with your time." Like, okay. So he leaves with Maddie and Aspen, and off they go in that teeny tiny car. And I would not want to be Maddie's trapped in the back seat of that for hours and hours on end. So he explains that wives are comfortable with another wife in this lifestyle, but not with a girlfriend. And duh, especially not a girlfriend that you're going to go drive 4 hours to see and probably stay the night at her home. But also, maybe, just maybe, Cody, they also aren't comfortable with the favoritism that it looks like you're already showing. Just saying. So they give us again the "Mary made this happen" thing, and for good measure, Cody throws in this time that Mary had a spiritual prompting. Okay. And Mary's like, "Yeah, I really felt like Robin was someone that I could be friends with." Honey, not every friend has to marry your husband. I have plenty of friends that we joke about being sister wives. We aren't real sister wives. Nobody's married to anybody else's husband. We're all married to our own husbands. But hey, it takes a village, and we are each other's village. So over at Robin's, she is serving some kind of pasta with spaghetti sauce, which is fine, but the bowl of celery is a little off-putting. Who eats celery with spaghetti? Are you just trying to get your kids ready because you know how much Cody loves celery? Is that what this is? I don't know. It's weird. Anyway. So Christine says here, this girl is choosing to come into a family of 16 people, 3 wives. And then we get some footage of Robin arguing with her kids at this point about bicycles going into the van. And real quick, before I talk about that, I just wanted to get out of the way. I don't like the way they infantilize relationships by saying this girl, this guy. It feels, you're adults. You're all in your 30s at this point. This man, this woman. I don't know what it is, but the language there really bothers me because it just feels super immature. It feels like a very immature way to describe mature relationships to me. I understand that saying it every once in a while, just kind of throwing it out there colloquially would not be an issue, but it is constant. And even to this day, they say things like that. You guys are grown adults. Make you sound like it. Anyway, so we get the footage of Robin arguing with her kids over bicycles. And I noticed something now having 3 kids of my own about how vastly different Robin's parenting style is to, let's say, Christine's, because that's what we've seen. We go back to the last episode where Aspen is like, I don't know, teasing, tickling Peyton in some way. And Christine's like, if you make him cry, you get to do a chore. Basically, hey, you make him cry, the consequence is you got to do some work. All right, fair. Whereas Robin, hers is a little bit more nebulous in a way. Like, listen, her kids are melting down about these bicycles, and she starts counting about, 1, 2, that kind of thing. Brianna takes off toward the street. And her response isn't, go snatch up your kid. It is, okay, guess you're going to lose your privileges. Now, I know she knows her child, but let me tell you, if my child was that small and running toward the road, you'd have gotten scooped up, moved to a safe spot, and we'd have had the conversation of, hey now, we absolutely do not run toward the road just because we're upset. I don't care how angry you are that mommy said no. We don't put our lives and our bodies in danger just to show mommy we're angry. Use your words. And then, because maybe I'm a terrible parent, it would have been 5-minute timeout at the park. You need to sit down on the bench and take a 5-minute timeout while everybody else gets to play, because we're going to continue to talk about why that's unsafe. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy, but that's just how I am with my kiddos. But Robin goes on to say that the great thing about this lifestyle is that you have all these people all over you mothering your children. This was never the case that we saw. She's like, them all just helping out is one of the cool things. Now, here's the thing. With many years of watching this show under our belt, that line feels so much more selfish than it felt at the beginning, doesn't it? Because maybe I should give her the benefit of the doubt here. Maybe this was really poorly worded. Maybe she didn't mean to make it sound like she wouldn't be contributing, because it felt very, ask not what you can do for your sister wives, but what your sister wives can do for you. I don't know. Maybe that's not how she means to make it sound. Maybe she means that she'll be contributing too, not just taking from others. But the way it comes across is they're going to be mothering my kids, and that's great for me. Because you also look at some of the conversations that we've seen over the seasons where, like, she confronts empty nesters or soon to be, well, I'm not done raising kids. Even in this last season, she said to Mary, I'm not done. Implying that Mary needed to stick around until her kids were raised. No. We close this out with Mary saying that this is the lifestyle we've chosen and the more the merrier. Okay. So the next scene, the wives and some of the kids actually are helping to move Christine's furniture around to fit in a crib for Truly, which is super cute. I would say that maybe they could move that gun safe up to Mary's apartment to make some more space. Listen, I'm not opposed to the gun safe. Be safe. I'm opposed to the idea that it only belongs in Christine's bedroom. I understand how wicked heavy those things are too. Just saying. But they're trying so hard to get this room rearranged in a way that the crib will fit. But they keep having to constantly readjust. And Christine's like, we've been together for 16 years. And Mary's like, holy freak, it's been forever. And she goes on to say it, they've learned how to work through their issues in that time. And Christine agrees that just like any other relationship you have, there are ups, there are downs. And Christine and Chanel agree that with Robin coming along, it just changes things. And Mary's like, yeah, it's going to be a new adjustment. They finish up and Christine's like, can we go shopping and get something to eat? I need to eat right now. Yes, she does. She is expending a lot of energy growing an entire human being. Feed the woman. So we go to Cody's car confessional, because there's nowhere else for him to film when he's over at Robin's. And he says, listen, I know things aren't all rainbows and flowers going through the process of seeing him fall in love with someone else. I am gritting my teeth hearing that, especially since now he says this was the only time he ever fell in love. And Robin's like, I didn't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable or hurt anybody. And Cody's like, there's no way around that. So they're at this little like dessert break. Now here's the weird part. We see them have the desserts first, but then later we're gonna see them eat their food and then dessert. It's weird. Anyway, so Christine's like, Robin's so pretty, and if I were to be jealous of anything about her, it would be how sweet she is and how good of a companion she is. She's like, I might feel like I'm being replaced as a companion. Okay. She tries to cover by saying it's not so much the jealousy as it is that. Okay, that actually, Christine, you literally just explained your jealousy. I don't know what to do with this. But Mary's like, it's not about Robin's look. And Christine jumps in and she's like, I'm glad he's getting a trophy wife. He's a great guy and he deserves a cute girl. How long had she known that Cody wasn't attracted to her? Because that feels like somebody who's like, yeah, no, I know he's not into me. He deserves somebody who's cute. Like, I'm not even joking when I'm saying this isn't in my notes. Like, I am just now coming to this realization, saying that out loud. How long did she know? Okay. Well, she and Mary laugh about this, and Janelle looks really uncomfortable. And Mary's like, I'm cute. And Christine's like, yes, yes, you are. And she starts to turn really red like she does. And Janelle's laughing at Mary saying that at least. So back in Robin's van, she's telling the kids that uh, she says that telling the kids that she was courting Cody was interesting. And Dayton wasn't sure about it, but Aurora was excited and wanted to plan. To plan what exactly? If you're just courting, I understand the expectation is that you're going to get married, but if you're not engaged already, okay. So she says Brianna was shy, but happy as well. And the girls start singing a song which I've made up about which mom is coming, and she says none. Aspen and Maddie are coming. But looking back at this, the Brown kids were told not to mention an engagement to Robin, but Aurora's already over here planning a wedding. It sounds like these conversations were like handled super differently, or they were filmed awkwardly. Because Cody's telling us that he's fearing how this pursuit will challenge his wives, and saying it's a fine balance. Pretty clear to me that the engagement is already a done deal at this point, even though we never saw it happen, and no one actually ever said that they were officially engaged. Because in the first episode, they're saying they're not, but now it's pretty clear that that's already a done deal. And so Robin's like, how do you find the balance of building a relationship with Cody and then being sensitive to what they're going through? Okay. And this feels like one of those moments that Christine has mentioned where Robin would come in and be like, we're all couples, where the other wives were like, no, we're a family. We're not couples. And so we can hear this language about building a relationship with Cody that would be normal in a monogamous relationship, but not, maybe even the relationship that her mom and stepdad had, but not in this dynamic that she's coming into, where they all feel that they are one family, not couples. And it doesn't seem to fit the dynamics that the Browns already had. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I'm just noticing some subtle differences in the way that Robin speaks about their relationships versus how the other wives speak about it. So Cody's like, this is something that we choose to do, but because of emotions and outside influences in our culture, we struggle. I'm sorry. Are those outside influences the cultural norm of monogamy? Because there is definitely a reason that that's the norm, sir. But this is where Christine lets the cat out of the bag and says she was kept in the dark about the relationship. She was super angry about Robin coming along because she'd never met her. And Cody was already talking about her a ton and claiming that he had a testimony. And then Mary was already hook, line, and sinker. And Christine's like, I'm panicking because I haven't even met her yet. And I'm feeling like I lost my best friend. And she is crying here. And crying out for help, it feels like. And I remember thinking this was such a strange thing at the time for her to share. Because it really seemed like the women were trying to show us that they wanted this. But here's Christine crying and seeming like she is uncomfortable. Like she is out of her element here. And Robin's like, well, if I put myself in their shoes, it would probably be hard. She sort of stumbles over saying that they love Cody and possibly watching him fall in love with someone else. She's like, but it wouldn't mean he loves them any less. She also says that she loves them for them sacrificing for her to be happy. Once again, that's a super Robin focused line. And maybe once again, could be incorrectly worded, but honey, they're not sacrificing for you. They are sacrificing for the good of their family. At least that's what they believe. And watching back with 14 years of hindsight, that line feels super selfish. I love them because of what they give to me. Okay. I just wanted to let that sink in for a second. But this is where Cody shares the crying in Christine's room story. And Christine has shared that side of her story now. And it is so super different than the happy-go-lucky one that Cody shares here. Because he is like crying and laughing about it. No ring. And the way Christine's like, yeah, I remember that, yeah. You can hear already she's super hurt. So now, looking at that through the lens of hearing her say, no, that was one of the worst days of my life. Yeah, you can hear it on the couch now. Like, how she's not laughing. She doesn't think it's cute or funny. And Mary's kind of looking at her hands, sort of pensive. And Janelle's the only other one smiling and laughing with Cody. Everyone else seems kind of upset. But back in the bathroom with Robin, she lets us know that polygamy rubs off all your rough spots. Use a stronger grit, girl, because your rough spots are showing. Just saying. And she's like, Cody's a better man now than he was before he married them. And Christine's like, yeah, sometimes when a woman comes into a family, they don't recognize a man as who he is because of their wives or their children. And she's like, Robin does see that. And Robin says that Cody has been put through it with the OGs. And they've made him a good man, and she wants to thank them for making him such a good man. Okay. I could comment that he has been undone by spending all of his time with Robin, but that really seems like low-hanging fruit. So they finally get out the door, and Robin shares that she made this list 2 years ago of what she wanted a partner, and she says it's Cody. Now, in the timeline of things, we know that her divorce to Preston was basically finalized like when she met Cody. So essentially, she's saying she was making this list while still married to him. I don't know exactly how long they were separated at that time. That could be totally normal. I'm just putting it into context of the timeline. So they go out for their Mexican date night and get hot chocolate, which seems weird enough to me. But then to be like, do you have mini marshmallows is also super weird. It's definitely not something that I would pick to go with Mexican food. I love my Mexican food. I am lactose intolerant. My Mexican food does not love me. I would not ask for hot chocolate with my Mexican food. I might ask for a margarita. No, probably not. I don't like tequila. But the ring is 100% on his hand on this date. But Robin, Robin saying now, well, no, he wasn't even wearing a ring when we met, is either so obviously wrong, or this was filmed so far out of sequence that they're already married by this point, and that's the ring he's wearing after they get married. Those are the only two options. So, he also gives Robin the string ring that Maddie made, and he's like, no one in my family would call me a romantic, but I've just been bitten by this romantic bug. And Robin has this sort of like smug smile on her face. Like, it definitely gives us smug vibes. And he says they've been courting for 4 months and they just want to get the families merged. And Janelle's like, yeah, we've been here before, and at the end we'll just have a bigger, cooler family. And we end with Cody telling us that being in love with Robin doesn't diminish his other wives, and she is just staring dead ahead, no emotion. Honestly, it's almost like she's disassociating. Like, I'm not trying to be funny because I disassociate too, but that's almost what it looks like on her face. There's nothing there. But then when he's like, she gets to pick who she wants to marry, and she picked me, and she turns and gives him this big, giant smile. It's kind of weird, actually. And that's where they end episode 2. And when we pick back up at episode 3, that's going to be Robin finally moving to Lehigh. Great. Because that's when things are going to go back to normal, right? At any rate, y'all have stuck with me through it. I know that this recap was basically the same length as the whole episode. Woo! I finally managed to not talk so much that the episode's 400 years long. So I'm going to come back with episode 3 sometime this week. I had meant to get 2 videos out this past week. It did not happen just because of life circumstances, honestly. I'm going to be 100 with you guys. I've been feeling really kind of down in the dumps and depressed for a little bit lately. Not for any, like, ridiculously crazy reason. Just having a lot of difficulty wrapping my head around everything going on in my head. For those of you who don't know, I have pseudotumor cerebri. I've been having some struggles with it. No big deal. We're going to be fine. Just a little bit down in the dumps, and didn't want to film while I was feeling down in the dumps because I didn't think I needed to bring that energy to you guys. So you guys have been here with me in this little filming space for so long, but I wanted to tell you, I think I'm finally going to start filling things up back here. And what am I going to start filling it up with? I'm going to start filling it up with all of the things I've been crocheting. Because I intend to do my very first craft show here in the spring, and I would like to show off the things that I'm making. So as I get little critters and everything created, you're going to see them start to line up on the back of the couch. I'm thinking about getting some shelves for back here. You guys are going to get to see some of the stuff that I made, because I'm seeing that a lot of you are actually quite interested in all of these things, and I am so here for it. If we are the Sister Wives crocheting, cross-stitching community, I'm here for it. Absolutely here for it. And if you guys want to see the thing that I'm cross-stitching that's still not done, I'm more than happy to put that on the back too. But if we are the Sister Wives crafting community, well, that's great. But I am not building Mary's Americana craft room in this room. I have worked far too hard to make this my perfect millennial gray sanctuary. Other than that, I don't have much else for you guys. I am going to film I'm either going to do my recap for episode 3, or I intend to do a recap of Daughters of the Cult on Hulu, which is the story of the LeBaron family. I know I mentioned it previously. I haven't been able to watch it because my kids, I don't want to watch it in front of my children. And they have been nonstop around me. In fact, the last couple of nights, one of them has even climbed into my bed because she says she's having nightmares. So I don't want to give her more nightmares. That's all that I have for you today, guys. Enjoy my blanket scarf, and I will see you soon. Bye.